The story that haunted thousands on Reddit began with a post on our /nosleep, shared by a user named u/shadowed steps, a college student scraping by in a small New England town. The post, titled "Something's Wrong with My Apartment," was written in a raw, almost frantic tone, as if the words were a lifeline, a desperate attempt to make sense of something unthinkable. They wrote, "I never believed in ghosts, spirits, or any of that paranormal stuff. I'm a science major, for God's sake. But I moved into this apartment a month ago, and something's not right. It's like the place is alive, and it doesn't want me here." The apartment was a cramped studio above an old antique shop, a bargain found on a sketchy rental site when dorm costs became too much. The building was ancient, its brick facade sagging under the weight of decades, its narrow street lined with faded storefronts that seemed frozen in time. The Redditor described stepping into the shop below to sign the lease, the air thick with the scent of dust, old wood, and mildew, the shelf cluttered with tarnished mirrors, chipped porcelain figurines, and furniture that looked like it belonged in a forgotten era. The shop's owner, also the landlord, was a gruff man with a permanent scowl, his eyes darting away when asked about the building's history. "It's old," he muttered. "Got character." But the Redditor felt a prickle of unease, a sense that the shop, and the apartment above, held secrets they weren't ready to uncover. The studio itself was sparse, a single room with a sagging bed, a rickety desk, and a closet with a creaky door that never stayed shut. The windows overlooked the empty street, their panes warped and streaked, casting distorted shadows when the streetlights flickered on. The air was heavy, even with the windows open, carrying a faint smell of mildew and something sharper, like damp rot. From the first night, the Redditor noticed the noises, footsteps pacing above them, slow and deliberate, like someone walking in circles. But they were on the top floor with nothing but a slanted roof and a locked attic hatch above. At first, they dismissed it as old pipes or the house settling, writing, "I told myself it's just an old building. They creak, right? But it sounds too human, too intentional." By the third night, the footsteps grew louder, more distinct. Heavy boots dragging across wood, punctuated by faint thumps, like something being dropped or kicked. The Redditor checked the attic hatch, a small square in the ceiling, but it was bolted shut, the metal rusted and cold to the touch. Then came the whispers, soft and unintelligible, seeping through the walls like a slow leak. They wrote, "It's like someone's talking just out of earshot, their voice urgent, like they're warning me or threatening me." They searched the apartment, flashlight in hand, its beam trembling across the scarred floorboards and the closet's jagged scratches, which looked like claw marks, too deep to be accidental. The landlord brushed off their concerns, muttering about overactive imaginations, but the subreddit's comments were less dismissive. "Get out," one user wrote. "Old buildings like that hold on to things. Bad things." The Redditor's posts grew shakier as the days passed. They described a growing sense of being watched, even when alone, the air heavier each night, the shadows deeper, as if the apartment were closing in. They found more scratches inside the closet, forming a faint pattern, letters or runes, though they couldn't decipher them. The photographs in the antique shop below, with their hollow-eyed faces, seemed to stare up through the floor, their gazes following them in their dreams. The final line of the first post sent a chill through our /nosleep. "Last night, I woke up to my name being whispered right beside my bed. I live alone. I don't know what to do." The subreddit erupted, with hundreds of comments urging caution, sharing similar stories, or begging them to leave. But the Redditor was trapped, financially, emotionally, and, as they'd soon discover, by something far darker than they could have imagined. The updates from u/shadowed steps on our slash nosleep came in erratic bursts, each post more desperate than the last, as if the act of writing was a lifeline to hold onto their fraying sanity. A week after their initial post, they shared a chilling update titled, "It's Getting Worse." They wrote, "I thought I could handle the noises, convince myself it's just an old building. But something happened last night that I can't explain, and I'm starting to think this apartment isn't just creepy, it's wrong." The subreddit, already buzzing with hundreds of comments, grew more frantic, urging them to document everything, to stay vigilant, but also to leave before it was too late. It started one night around 2 a.m. when the Redditor woke to a chill that seemed to seep into their bones, the room colder than it should have been for a mild spring evening in New England. The air was heavy, thick with the familiar mildew scent now laced with something sour, like rotting fruit or damp earth. Their eyes darted to the closet door, which they swore they'd closed before bed. It was now wide open, its hinges creaking faintly as if it had just swung ajar. Inside, their clothes swayed gently, as if brushed by an unseen hand. Though the windows were shut, the air still. The Redditor's heart raced, a cold sweat breaking out on their skin as they grabbed their phone, its flashlight casting trembling shadows across the scarred floorboards. They checked the closet, expecting a draft or a loose hanger, but the space was empty, the scratches on the door more pronounced now, their jagged edges gleaming in the light like fresh cuts. They hit record on their phone, their voice trembling as they whispered, "If something's here, I'm catching it. I need proof." The video was shaky, the flashlight's beam darting across the closet's interior, the walls, the ceiling with its rusted attic hatch. On playback, they heard it, a faint, rasping voice, barely audible, whispering, "Get out." The sound wasn't in the room when they recorded. It was only in the footage, layered beneath their own ragged breathing, as if embedded in the audio itself. They posted, "I listened to it 10 times, try to convince myself it was static or wind, but it's a voice. It knows I'm here." The subreddit erupted, with users analyzing the audio, some claiming to hear additional whispers, "Stay" or "Mine," beneath the primary warning. The Redditor tried to rationalize it, writing, "Maybe it's sleep paralysis or a dream. I was half asleep, right?" But their words felt hollow, drowned by the growing dread that the apartment was alive, aware, and watching. The noises grew bolder in the following nights. The footsteps above, once confined to the early hours, now echoed at random, slow, deliberate paces in the dead of night, joined by a dragging sound, like furniture being pulled or a body sliding across the floor. The whispers became more frequent, seeping through the walls, not just unintelligible murmurs, but fragments of sentences. "You don't belong, leave, it's not safe." The Redditor checked the attic hatch again, climbing onto a chair to tug at the rusted bolt, but it wouldn't budge, the metal cold and unyielding. They confronted the landlord, who dismissed them with a smirk. "Old places make noises. You're just jumpy, kid." But the subreddit's comments were less dismissive, with users sharing stories of haunted apartments and warnings. "If it's telling you to leave, listen." Some things don't stop at warnings. The apartment's atmosphere grew heavier, the air thick with that sour, rotting smell that seemed to cling to their clothes. They noticed small disturbances, their textbook open to a page they hadn't read, a coffee mug moved to the other side of the desk, a pen rolling across the floor as if pushed. They posted a photo of the closet door, its scratches now forming a faint pattern, like letters or runes, glowing faintly in the camera's flash. "I didn't notice this before," they wrote. "It's like the scratches are growing, like something's carving them while I sleep." The comments urged them to set up more recordings, to try protective measures, but also to flee. "That's not normal. Get out before it gets worse." The Redditor's final line in the update was chilling. I don't think it wants me to leave anymore. I think it wants me to stay, and that scares me more than anything. The post from you/shadowed steps on our/nosleep grew more frantic as weeks passed, each update painting a picture of an apartment that was no longer just a home, but a living entity, hostile and aware. Their third post, titled, "It's Not Just Noises Anymore," was a raw outpouring of fear, written in the early hours after another sleepless night. They wrote, "I thought I could handle the footsteps, the whispers, even the closet door opening on its own. But it's getting worse, way worse. The apartment is angry, and I'm trapped here. I don't know how much longer I can take this." The subreddit, now with thousands of followers hooked on the unfolding horror, flooded with comments, some offering protective rituals, others begging them to leave, one chillingly warning, "It's not just haunting you, it's claiming you." The disturbances had escalated beyond strange noises and subtle movements. The Redditor described waking to find their belongings rearranged in ways that defied explanation. A textbook left open on the floor to a page about grief and loss. Though they studied biology, a jacket they'd hung in the closet draped over their desk chair, its sleeves twisted as if someone had worn it. A glass of water moved from the bedside table to the center of the room, its surface rippling as if just touched. The air in the apartment was heavier now, thick with the sour, rotting smell that had grown stronger, now laced with a metallic tang, like blood or rust. The floorboards groaned even when they stood still, as if the apartment were shifting beneath them, its walls pulsing with a life of their own. One morning, they stepped into the bathroom to brush their teeth and froze. The mirror was fogged up, though they hadn't showered or run hot water. Scratched into the condensation were the words, "Still here." The letters were uneven, jagged, as if carved by a trembling or angry hand, their edges dripping like tears. The Redditor's heart pounded as they stared, the mirror reflecting their pale, terrified face, their breath fogging the glass further. They grabbed their phone, snapping a blurry photo before the words dissolved, and posted it to our/nosleep with a caption. "This was on my mirror this morning. I didn't write it. I'm freaking out." The subreddit exploded, with users debating whether it was a ghost message, a warning, or a claim. One commenter wrote, "That's not a ghost saying hi. That's something staking its territory. Get out now." The Redditor tried to clean the mirror, scrubbing until their hands ached, but the words seemed to linger, a faint etching in the glass that caught the light at odd angles, as if burned into the surface. They began recording constantly, setting up their phone on a makeshift tripod at night, hoping to capture evidence that might explain or end the nightmare. The footage was chilling. Shadows darted across the walls, too quick to be natural. The closet door creaked open on its own, revealing scratches that glowed faintly in the dark. A chair rocked slightly, as if nudged by an unseen force. The audio was worse. Whispers, not just "get out," but their name, repeated in a low, guttural tone. "Shadowed steps, you're here," the Redditor wrote. "It knows my username, or maybe my real name. It's like it's inside my head, watching everything I do." They confronted the landlord again, their voice shaking as they described the mirror, the whispers, the footage. He laughed, a nervous edge to his voice, saying, "Old buildings play tricks. You're letting Reddit get to you." But his eyes darted to the floor, avoiding theirs, as if he knew something he wouldn't admit. The subreddit's advice grew desperate. Users suggested salt lines, burning sage, even contacting a priest, but the Redditor's attempts at protection failed. They sprinkled salt across the doorway, only to find it scattered by morning, as if kicked by unseen feet. They burned sage, but the smoke turned acrid, choking them, and the whispers grew louder, mocking, You can't stop us. A borrowed rosary, left on their desk, vanished by the next night, only to reappear in the closet, draped over the scratched door like an offering. Financial struggles kept them trapped. Breaking the lease meant losing their deposit, money they couldn't afford to lose as a broke college student. They posted, "I want to leave, but I can't. Rent's too cheap, and I'm barely making it as is. What do I do?" The subreddit's responses were a mix of sympathy and fear, with one user writing, "You're not just a tenant. You're prey. It's not about money anymore. Get out before it's too late." The Redditor's final update in this post was a gut punch. The footsteps don't stop at dawn anymore. They're pacing above me, even in daylight, like whatever's here doesn't care if I see it. I think it's done hiding. The next post from you/shadowed steps on our /nosleep, titled, "I Saw It," marked a turning point in their ordeal, a moment when fear solidified into terror. The post was written in the early hours, the words jagged and rushed, as if typed with trembling hands. They wrote, "I can't do this anymore. I saw something last night, something real, something standing in my apartment. It wasn't a shadow or a trick of the light. It was watching me, and I'm terrified it's not done with me." The subreddit, now a frenzy of thousands of followers, erupted with comments, some offering prayers, others analyzing the attached video, and many urging them to flee. "That's not a ghost just saying hi," one user wrote. "That's something claiming you. Get out before it's too late." It happened late at night, past midnight, as the Redditor sat at their desk, hunched over a biology textbook, the apartment lit only by a flickering desk lamp that cast long, wavering shadows across the scarred floorboards. The air was heavy, thick with the sour, metallic smell that had become a constant presence, now so strong it made their eyes water. The whispers had grown bolder, no longer confined to the walls, but circling the room, their name, "Shadowed Steps," repeated in a low, guttural tone that seemed to vibrate in their bones. They tried to focus on their studies, muttering, "It's just stress, just the apartment." But the words felt hollow, drowned by the oppressive silence that followed each whisper. Then, out of the corner of their eye, they saw movement in the hallway, a tall, shadowy figure standing just beyond the bedroom door. It was humanoid but wrong, its edges blurred and jagged, its limbs too long, too thin, like a silhouette stretched by a cruel hand. Its eyes glowed faintly, two pinpricks of sickly yellow light that pierced the darkness, fixed directly on them. The Redditor froze, their textbook slipping from their hands, the thud echoing like a gunshot in the silent apartment. Their heart pounded, a deafening drumbeat. As the air grew colder, the metallic tang now overwhelming, like blood pooling in the room. The figure didn't move, it just watched, its presence a crushing weight that made it hard to breathe, as if it were draining the air itself. They fumbled for their phone, hands trembling so badly they nearly dropped it, and hit record, whispering, "Please, let this be nothing." The video was shaky, the flashlight's beam darting across the hallway, catching the figure's form, tall, distorted, its glowing eyes locked on the lens. They croaked, "What do you want?" Their voice barely audible, cracking with fear. The figure tilted its head, as if considering the question, its movements slow and deliberate, like a predator sizing up prey. Then, in an instant, it melted into the shadows, its form dissolving like smoke, leaving only a faint whisper in the air. "Shadowed Steps." The Redditor's post described the terror that gripped them. It knew my name. Not just my username, my real name. I heard it when it vanished, like it was inside my head. They uploaded the video to our /nosleep, a grainy 20-second clip that sent the subreddit into chaos. The footage showed the figure clearly, its blurred edges, its unnatural limbs, its glowing eyes, before it disappeared. Users analyzed every frame, pointing out distortions in the shadows, a faint outline that lingered even after the figure vanished. "That's a shadow person," one commenter wrote. "But the eyes mean it's something worse. It's attached to you now." Others shared similar stories of shadowy figures in old buildings, warning that such entities grew bolder, more aggressive, the longer you stayed. The Redditor tried to stay rational, writing, "Maybe it was just my imagination, the lamp flickering, but I felt it watching me. I can't sleep here anymore." The apartment grew more hostile after that night. The footsteps were constant now, pacing above, beside, even below, as if the building were alive, its walls closing in. The closet door opened every night, no matter how many times they locked it, the scratches inside growing deeper, forming patterns that looked like words, maybe "stay" or "mine," though they couldn't be sure. They posted a photo of the door, the scratches glowing faintly in the camera's flash, and the comments were unanimous. "That's not a ghost. That's something darker. You're not safe." The whispers grew louder, more distinct, calling their name in a tone that shifted from menacing to almost pleading, as if the entity were trying to lure them closer. The air was colder, the metallic smell choking, and the Redditor wrote, "I feel like it's waiting for me to give in, like it wants me to acknowledge it. I'm scared to stay, but I'm more scared to leave." The final post from you/shadowed steps on our /nosleep, titled, "I Can't Stay Here Anymore," was a raw cry for help, written in the aftermath of a night that broke them. The words spilled out in a disjointed rush, as if typed through tears and trembling hands. I saw it up close. It was in my face, right beside me. "I'm done. I ran, and I'm never going back. I don't care what it costs me. This place is evil." The subreddit, now a fevered community of thousands, exploded with comments, some offering sympathy, others analyzing the attached photos and videos, and many expressing fear. "You're lucky you got out," one user wrote. "That thing didn't just want your apartment. It wanted you." It happened at 3 a.m., a time the Redditor had come to dread, when the apartment's hostility peaked. They woke to a suffocating cold, the air so icy it burned their lungs, their breath forming thick clouds that lingered in the darkness. The whispers, now a constant presence, were louder, more insistent, their name, "Shadowed Steps," repeated in a rasping, guttural voice that seemed to come from inside their skull. "Stay your mind." Their heart pounded as they fumbled for the bedside lamp, their hands shaking so badly they nearly knocked it over. The light flickered on, casting a weak, stuttering glow, and there it was, a pale, blurred face inches from theirs, hovering above the bed. It was humanoid but wrong, its features a smear of light, no distinct eyes or mouth, just a flickering void radiating rage and hunger. Its presence was a physical force, pinning them to the bed, their breath caught in their throat as if squeezed by invisible hands. They screamed, a raw, guttural sound that tore from their chest, and bolted upright, the lamp flickering as if struggling to stay lit. The face vanished, but the air remained frigid, the metallic tang of blood and decay so strong it made them gag. They grabbed their phone, hands trembling, and recorded the room, whispering, "It was here. It was right here." The footage showed nothing but the empty bed, the closet door now wide open, its scratches glowing faintly, forming a single word, "Mine." The Redditor stumbled out of bed, their legs weak, their vision blurring with panic. The floorboards groaned beneath them, not in rhythm with their steps, but in a mocking cadence, as if the apartment were laughing. They ran for the door, their bare feet slipping on the cold wood, and threw it open, the hallway beyond dark and heavy with that sour, rotting smell. As they reached the stairs, footsteps echoed behind them, slow, deliberate, matching their pace, as if the entity were following, savoring their fear. They didn't look back, their heart pounding so hard it drowned out the whispers, now a chorus. You can't leave. You're ours. They stumbled into the street, the night air sharp and clean, a stark contrast to the apartment's suffocating gloom. They spent the rest of the night in their car, parked a mile away, too terrified to return, their phone clutched tightly as they typed their post to our /no sleep. I saw its face. It was right there, inches from me. I can't go back. When they returned at dawn to grab their things, the apartment was in chaos. Every cupboard and drawer was wide open, books and clothes scattered across the floor, the desk chair overturned as if flung in anger. The mirror in the bathroom was shattered, its pieces reflecting nothing but darkness, though the Redditors swore they saw a flicker of yellow eyes in one shard. The closet door hung ajar, the scratches now deep and jagged, the word mine carved clearly into the wood. They snapped a photo, their hands shaking, and posted it to our /no sleep with the caption, "This is what I came back to. I'm leaving for good." The subreddit rallied around them, offering support but also fear. "It marked you," one user wrote. "Be careful. It might not let you go just because you left." The Redditor packed their essentials in a frenzy, leaving behind anything too heavy, too tainted by the apartment's presence. The antique shop below was silent, its tarnished mirrors and chipped figurines staring up as they passed, their eyes seeming to follow them out the door. The landlord, when confronted, only shrugged, his nervous laugh betraying unease. "You're not the first to leave in a hurry. Old places get to people." But his eyes darted to the stairs, as if he knew what lingered above. The Redditor's final line in the post was a gut punch. "I escaped, but I don't feel free. I still hear it whispering my name, even now in my car miles away." A week after fleeing the apartment, /Shadowed Steps posted a final update on our /no sleep, titled, "I'm out, but it's not over." The words were heavy with exhaustion and fear, written from a friend's couch where they'd been crashing, their life upended by the terror that had driven them from their home. They wrote, "I thought leaving the apartment would end it. That distance would make it stop. But I can't shake the feeling that something followed me. I'm safe, but I don't feel safe. I don't know if I ever will again." The subreddit, now a community of thousands gripped by their story, responded with a flood of comments, some offering support, others speculating about the entity, and many warning, "You didn't just leave a haunted place. You might have brought it with you." The Redditor described their escape as a blur of panic, their car a sanctuary as they sped away from the antique shop, the apartment's chaos. Open drawers, scattered belongings, shattered mirror, burned into their memory. They'd packed only essentials, leaving behind clothes, books, even their desk chair, all tainted by the apartment's malice. The landlord's nervous laugh haunted them, his vague admission chilling. "You're not the first to leave in a hurry. Old places get to people." When pressed, he revealed a fragment of the building's history. The antique shop below had been a funeral home in the 1940s, its basement used for embalming, the upstairs apartment a storage room for bodies awaiting burial. "Just old stories," he said, but his eyes darted to the stairs, as if afraid of what lingered above. The Redditor wrote, "It makes sense now. The smells, the whispers, the scratches. But knowing doesn't help. It makes it worse." They moved to a friend's apartment across town, a modern complex with bright lights and noisy neighbors, a stark contrast to the oppressive gloom of the antique shop. But the safety felt fragile, like a thin shield against the darkness that hadn't let go. They described sleepless nights, their dreams haunted by the pale, blurred face, its hollow eyes staring, its rasping voice whispering their name. Shadowed steps. They woke gasping, their heart racing, and checked their closet door, half expecting it to be open, though it was always shut. The bruise on their arm, where they'd felt an icy grip during that final night, had faded, but a faint throb lingered, pulsing in the quiet moments, as if the entity's touch was still there, embedded in their skin. The Redditor tried to reclaim their life, returning to classes, but the apartment's shadow clung to them. They avoided mirrors, afraid of seeing a smudge, a word, or those yellow eyes flickering in the glass. The sour, metallic smell of the apartment sometimes returned, faint but unmistakable, lingering in their clothes or their dreams. They wrote, "I hear whispers sometimes, so soft I think I'm imagining them, but it's my name, just like before. It's like the apartment, or whatever was in it, knows where I am." The subreddit's comments were a mix of empathy and fear, with users sharing stories of hauntings that followed them, of entities that latched onto people rather than places. One wrote, "You were marked. That word on the closet door, mine, wasn't just a message. It was a claim." They dug deeper into the building's history, scouring online forums and local archives, but found only fragments. The funeral home had closed after a series of unexplained incidents. Workers hearing voices, tools moving on their own, bodies found rearranged in the basement. The apartment above had a reputation among locals, who called it cursed and avoided renting it for long. The Redditor posted, "I wish I'd known before I signed the lease. But even now, knowing doesn't help. It's like I carried something out with me." They kept their phone footage, the grainy videos of shadows, whispers, and the pale face, stored on a private drive, too afraid to watch again, but unable to delete them. The subreddit urged them to share more, to seek help. A priest, a medium, but the Redditor wrote, "I just want to forget, but I don't think it wants me to." Months after escaping the apartment, u/Shadowed Steps posted a final reflection on r/Nosleep, titled, "It Changed Me." The words were heavy with exhaustion and a quiet, lingering fear, as if the act of writing was both a confession and a plea for understanding. They wrote, "I thought leaving the apartment would set me free, that distance would make the nightmares stop. But the truth is, I'm not the same person I was before. That place, that thing, left something in me, a shadow I can't shake. I'm sharing this because I need to know I'm not alone, that someone else understands what it's like to feel haunted even after you've left." The subreddit, now a community of thousands gripped by their story, responded with a flood of comments, some offering empathy, others sharing similar experiences, and many expressing a shared dread. "It's not just the place," one user wrote. "It's you now. Be careful." The Redditor described their new life, pieced together in a modern apartment across town, far from the antique shop's oppressive gloom. The new place was bright, with clean walls and noisy neighbors, a stark contrast to the mildew-soaked air and scarred floorboards of their old studio. But the safety felt fragile, like a thin veil over a darkness that refused to let go. They avoided mirrors at night, afraid of seeing a smudge, a word, or those sickly yellow eyes flickering in the glass. Sleep was a battle, their dreams haunted by the pale, blurred face, its hollow void staring, its rasping voice whispering their name. Shadowed steps, they woke gasping, their heart racing, and checked their closet door, always shut but somehow feeling like it could swing open at any moment. The bruise on their arm had faded, but a faint throb lingered, pulsing in the quiet of the night, as if the entity's icy grip was still there, woven into their skin. They tried to reclaim their old life, classes, friends, late-night study sessions, but the apartment's shadow clung to them. The sour, metallic smell of blood and decay sometimes returned, faint but unmistakable, lingering in their clothes or their dreams. They wrote, "I hear whispers sometimes, so soft I think I'm imagining them, but it's my name, just like before. It's like the thing in the apartment knows where I am, like it's waiting for me to let my guard down. The footage from that night, the shadow figure, the pale face, the glowing scratches, remained on a private server, a digital ghost they couldn't delete but were too afraid to watch again. They'd shared snippets with the subreddit, the grainy videos sparking debates. Some called it a ghost tied to the funeral home's past, others a demon that had latched onto them. One user wrote, "That word on the closet door, mine, wasn't just a threat. It was a promise." The Redditor dug deeper into the building's history, combing through local archives and obscure forums, piecing together fragments of a grim past. The antique shop had been a funeral home in the 1940s, its basement used for embalming, the upstairs apartment a storage room for bodies awaiting burial. Locals whispered of unexplained incidents, workers hearing voices, tools moving on their own, bodies found rearranged in the basement, their faces frozen in expressions of terror. The apartment had a reputation, rarely rented for long, its tenants fleeing with stories of footsteps, whispers, and shadows that watched. The Redditor wrote, "I wish I'd known before I signed the lease. But knowing doesn't erase what happened. It's like I carried a piece of that place with me, and I don't know how to let it go." Their final words were a haunting plea. "I used to laugh at ghost stories, dismiss them as overactive imaginations. Now I'm afraid of the dark, of silence, of being alone. If you felt this, seen this, heard your name whispered when no one's there, tell me I'm not alone. Tell me it gets better." The post went viral, with thousands of upvotes and comments, some sharing similar tales of hauntings that followed them, others offering prayers or advice, salt, sage, priests, but the Redditor never responded. Their account went silent, leaving the subreddit to speculate. Had they found peace, or had the entity claimed them in a way they couldn't escape? The story became a legend on our /nosleep, a chilling reminder that some places don't just haunt you. They change you, mark you, and never let go. The story of you /shadowed steps lingers like a shadow in the corner of your vision. They're one moment, gone the next, but never truly absent. Their final post on our /nosleep left thousands of readers haunted, scrolling through comments late at night, their screens casting pale light in darkened rooms, wondering, was this just a chilling tale spun for upvotes, a masterfully crafted piece of internet folklore? Or was it something more, a raw, unfiltered glimpse into a world where the veil between the living and the restless is thinner than we dare admit? The grainy videos, the blurry photos of scratched closet doors, the raw terror in their words. They feel too visceral, too real, to dismiss as mere fiction. This wasn't just a story about a haunted apartment. It was a warning, a reminder that some places, some things, don't let go once they've claimed you. As I read their posts, I couldn't help but imagine myself in that apartment, lying awake at 3 a.m., hearing my name whispered in the dark, feeling the air grow heavy with that sour, metallic tang. The footsteps pacing above, the closet door creaking open, the pale, blurred face inches from mine. Each detail clings to you, burrowing into your mind like the scratches on that door. The Redditor's escape didn't feel like freedom. It felt like a temporary reprieve, a fragile pause in a nightmare that might never end. That final plea, "Tell me I'm not alone," echoes in the subreddit's comments, where thousands shared their own stories of whispers, shadows, and places that felt wrong. Some spoke of old houses where mirrors showed more than reflections, of apartments where footsteps followed them down empty halls, of dreams where pale faces stared from the edges of sleep. The subreddit became a digital campfire, a place to share fears too dark to speak aloud, proving that you/shadowed steps terror wasn't theirs alone. What makes this story so unsettling isn't just the pale face or the glowing eyes. It's the idea that the Redditor might never be free. The bruise on their arm, the whispers in their dreams, the faint throb that pulsed in the quiet moments. Those hints suggest the entity wasn't bound to the apartment, to the old funeral home's cursed foundations. It marked them, claimed them, and maybe it's still out there, waiting for the right moment to whisper again. The history of that building, the embalming basement, the bodies stored above, the workers who fled in fear, points to something ancient, something tied to the land itself, a restless force that feeds on those who linger too long. And if it followed you/shadowed steps, who's to say it couldn't follow any of us? So, I ask you, what would you have done in that apartment? Would you have stayed, chalking up the footsteps to old pipes, the whispers to an overactive imagination? Would you have ignored the scratches, the moving objects, the words on the mirror, hoping it was just a trick of the light? Or would you have run the first night your name was whispered, when the closet door swung open on its own? Think about it, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt a chill you couldn't explain, seen a shadow move when it shouldn't, heard a voice when you were alone? Tell us, because Reddit never sleeps, and neither do the things that haunt it. The next time you're in an old building, when the air grows heavy or the silence feels alive, listen closely. You might hear your name, whispered just out of sight, and you'll wonder if you're truly alone. Stay safe, and maybe check your closet door tonight.